Hi everyone, I've got Noelly Michoux.
It's super well.
Yeah.
Bravo.
In French at GCSE. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. I just know so many people are gonna take so much from this, and I really want to learn from your journey.
Thank you for having me. Excited to have this chat.
All right, so let's actually get into it by first of all talking about what 456 is.
So 456 is really the world's first customized skincare brand that solely focused on the specific needs of people with skin phototypes 4, 5, and 6. And if you don't know what that is, that's normal. This is not a very popular concept yet, but there is a scale by an American dermatologist called Fitzpatrick, and he basically classified humanity into 6 phototypes. So phototype 1, 2, 3, these are people that do not have a lot of melanin. They have low melanin levels in their skin. They don't tan, they tend to burn under the sun, and they have their dermatologic principles. And then you have skin phototype 4, 5, and 6, which are people that have higher melanin levels, and we usually call them people of color in our society. And so this portion of the population is usually completely left outside of the R&D process, and that's why we exist. We exist to change that, to make sure that skin phototype 4, 5, 6 are also getting the highest quality skincare and having products that are made for them and that respect their skincare characteristics.
Yeah, and that's why I love the name so much. It's not just random numbers 4, 5, 6, but it actually stands for your specific target customer group. And I guess that kind of leads on to the next question, which was, what's the real problem that you're solving? But you've said already, there's a group that typically, especially in the cosmetics industry, is quite underserved. But what about if you could explain the problem a bit deeper, just so we understand how big your solution is?
Absolutely. And the problem is fascinating. Like, when I understood it, it blew my own mind, but it also kind of healed the kind of pain I had been feeling and about my skin, because I always just thought my skin was crazy. And because I had black skin, so obviously it's a crazy black skin normal, but it was really like a scientific explanation to it. So let me explain the dermatologic principles of skin phototype 4, 5, and 6. So beside the pigmentation, which is the difference you see, right? These skin have structural and functional differences, right? So the first one, and you will see how that one is super important, is that these skins are thicker, literally. They have more layers to the stratum corneum, which is an amazing thing. That means they have also more elastin, more collagen. That's why we don't age that much, That's amazing.
Black don't crack, right? That's
the darker it is, the less it cracks, right? That's the truth. So this is why it is that way. But that also means that this is going to impact the way you are receiving hydration in your skin. So basically, this skin, they would need skincare formulations that are correctly vectorized to go deeper into the skin. So, this is crucial, right? If you think about hydration, which is usually the cause of so many skincare problems, this is such an important fact that you need to factor into your R&D process. So that's a major first structural difference. There are a dozen of them. I can send you the list to share, but I'm going to talk about the main ones here. The other important difference with 4, 5, 6 skin is that they have melanocytes that are very robust, right? The melanocytes are the little cells that produce the melanin pigment. They're really robust. That's why we have more melanin. And because melanin actually plays a protective role for our skin, which again, blessing, which is why we don't burn under the sun, which is why we tan better. But that also means that every little aggression, anything that your skin interprets as an attack, that would trigger your melanocyte to get into overdrive and produce pigmentation that you don't need. And that's why we are prone to hyperpigmentation. So again, when we are creating skincare products, this is a very important fact to think about. Like, when I say I'm creating a brightening serum that a woman of color is going to use, am I taking into account the fact that if I put 10%, 5% acid, this might actually backfire and create more hyperpigmentation? No. So that's an important fact. Another important fact is the climate, right? If you have melanin in your skin, chances are that your ancestors evolved in another kind of climate. And so your skin barrier is fit for a climate where you have sun, humidity, and it is warm. So when you find yourself, let's say in where you live in the UK, or where I live in Belgium, where it is cold, you don't have a lot of sunlight, you don't have a lot of humidity, that actually impairs your skin barrier, right? Which is going to impact so many things, right? It impacts your skin's ability to retain water. Again, we go back to why we always feel dry. It slows down your cell renewal metabolism, which is why we always look dull. But the lack of sunlight energy also it affects how well we can synthesize vitamin D, which is why you see people of color are often vitamin D deficiencies. So we know that vitamin D affects your bones, your metabolism, but it has actually lately been classified as a hormone. So not having it can impact your mental well-being, but we also have scientific evidence that shows a direct correlation between the nutrition levels on your skin and a lack of vitamin D. So if you don't have it, then your skin tends to be drier. So there are so many of these factors that are important, and that actually, when you learn about them, it's like, absolutely makes sense why my skin is always dry, why my skin looks dull, why I have stubborn hyperpigmentation that never goes away. Is because I keep using products that are not adapted for my skin, they are not made for my skin, and they might even be backfiring because they're not respecting the principles, the dermatologic principles of my skin. And so this is why we kind of came in, and what we did is really simple. Like, anyone could have done it if they really wanted to do it. You look at the skin, look at people, consider them, their differences, and you simply go from that. We do some formulation principles that are aligned with all of these differences. Like, what do we do with hydration? We need products that go deeper into the skin, so we're going to vectorize them properly, and you vectorize a product starting with the base. So, for example, instead of using the mineralized water, which is the standard in the industry, is pretty much dead water, but we use active water, we use vitalized water, we use plant extracts and juices, and these are elements that are really biodynamic, that the skin recognizes, and that really boosts it, energizes the formula, and helps the ingredient go deeper. When we solve for hyperpigmentation, we know that we need to find that balance between it has to work because, well, a lot of melanin, but also we cannot aggress the skin because the melanocyte will wake up and produce more hyperpigmentation. So instead of doing what you would see done in the industry, which is we put 10% this, 5% this to brighten the skin, we know that doesn't work. We try, we test it, does not work. Bad news. We're going to use a variety of melanin inhibitors, and we would use actives that kind of mimic the palmoplantar melanin pathway. We use actives that really tackle hyperpigmentation through different pathways because melanogenesis is so complex. And that's how you come up with a solution that address hyperpigmentation in a way that is effective and that gives slower, yes, but longer term results on melanin-rich skin. So these are things, this is how we work today. We look at the science, we look at the physiology, we draw formulation principles, and that really impacts how we formulate, what we put in the formula, and how much of it we put. So yeah.
I love that so much. I think in a few minutes, you taught me so much about my skin, what I'm doing it, probably how I'm abusing it right now.
By the way, your skin is like a flawless.
Is it glowing? Is it glowing?
But you're glowing.
It's the lights. It's the lights.
Wow.
But you know what? I really love the fact that, you know, you showed that you know the problem down to a scientific level. And a lot of the people that, you know, I coach with businesses, they come with the business, right? And they're just always so focused on, you know, I'm going to market it this way and this is how I'm going to present it. This is the influencers I'm going to use. But you are problem centric. You really know the problem to the point where that's your main focus. And, you know, if you solve that thing, everything else around it is great. So, you know, I really hope that when people have listened to how deeply you've gone into it, and I know you've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, very much. We could talk about this for days.
Exactly. And, you know, that's what I love about, you know, founders and entrepreneurs. Like, they're so passionate about the issue that they're solving, and that's just the grit that you need. So even moving on, now that we know the business a bit better, let's actually talk about where you are now. Like, so as a business, you know, who's in your team, where are you operating out of, what are your plans, you know, how are you attacking the market, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to roll a little bit back on how we even got here, you know, how, you know, we had this idea, and then obviously I had to try to find partners that would do this with me, but because I try to work with labs and they really didn't understand what I was trying to do. So I absolutely needed to get co-founders that had like that scientific background, but also an expertise to ingredients, but also find a lab space where we could work, because there was really no way we were going to be able to do this project if we were depending on another structure. So we did start, and this was an amazing thing for us. So we got so lucky as to get an incubation with the LVMH Research Center, which is really like the temple of the cosmetic industry. This is where all of the most amazing brands in the world really came out. So we got into this program where we could get like our lab, full equipment, access to the best mind in the industry, and we're able to bootstrap our R&D there. Otherwise, that would have been like super expensive and it would have taken years. But after we finished the R&D, we're like, there's no way we can carry on doing this with like another manufacturer. We need to find our own space. We needed the freedom, the full flexibility. So we set up our own lab, and then we set up our own production unit. This is very unusual for you know, such a small company. Usually beauty startups, they would go to a lab and buy formulas that already exist, and then they will put their own little spin on it and then just go to market. But we really needed to be in control, also because we're customizing and everything. So that's what we did. So we are like a fully integrated D2C brand now. So obviously we're made in France. We started with a French incubation program. So initially we were going to launch in France. And then as we kept thinking about it, we're like, France is not the right market for us right now, if we're being honest. So we decided to launch in the UK because, well, first of all, in the UK, you have a lot more skin for type 4, 5, and 6 than you do in France. And we were really looking at city to city, look at Paris, London, and we're like, we can definitely launch in London and become like a legit brand just with the London population. But also, you actually get statistics on people in the UK, which you're not allowed to get in France. So I'm able to say how many Africans, and then, you know, the Afro-Caribbeans, Indians, you can get these stats. In France, you cannot. So that was one element that was important. Like, we need to know what's really like the addressable market. And then you look at the e-commerce penetration. The UK again is the market, you know, ahead of all of European countries when it comes to e-commerce. So that was the second reason. And the third reason was it was cultural. because I really didn't want this brand to be received as like an ethnic little brand that can live in the corner, you know.
Yeah.
Coming, I was like, this is mainstream. My brand is talking, is made for like 60% of the world population and growing, you know. It cannot be like a little thing on a corner. So I really didn't want that. And we do have a different culture in France where, you know, it's liberté, égalité, fraternité. You cannot really come out and say I am different for like physiological reasons. So I was scared that was not going to be understood. And the fourth reason was that we just wanted the brand to have that international positioning right off the bat. Just like, we're all French people, no one is like a native English speaking person, but we really want to impose that discipline on ourselves. Like everything we do, the way we think, it has to be an international mindset from the get-go. Also because the US is a market that we look at, you know, and that was going to be like a way for us to bridge that market and just kind of have that halo effect, which we can see now in our sales. Like 20% of our sales come from international. Wow. And we're just working in the UK right now in terms of like, you know, PR influencers. So that strategy is actually really working. So we launched not so long ago, I think we have 3 months now and a half, if you count January, of full operation. So it's a bit early, you know, to say if this brand is like successful or not. We are really at that midpoint. But what's amazing to see is, first of all, the reception that we are getting from the press. And mind you, this is not just, you know, journalists coming in and being like, oh, this is such a cool brand, they're doing stuff for people. Great. No, they've gone through the process with us. They have gotten the formulas, you know, the routine, they have tried the products, and they are coming out with a genuine point of view to say, okay, concept is great. They have had interviews with me trying to understand what you guys really do. They get it, then they get the product, they try them, they love them, and then they're coming out with such amazing reviews, which is great for us. But also the customers, you know, we're also getting validation from the influencers, but also the customers. People come in a bit curious, like, what? Are you legit? Are you really for real? I mean, I can customize for like my problem, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, you can do it. So they get the product a bit. Some of them are like excited but skeptical, and I can understand. But then we see them come back, and then we see word of mouth kicking in. So it's been, I think we are well off. We are off to a really great start, but we are still at the point where we do need to work to gain more visibility and tell our community that they now have a brand they can call their own, and we're really here, you know, for the long run. And the prospects for this brand are exciting, and we can't wait to just keep bringing out innovation for, you know, melanin enriched men and women all over the world. So it's very exciting.
First of all, you've shown what the typical kind of cosmetics startup journey is in terms of they normally get like a white label products, but you guys said no, we're keeping this completely in-house and we're going to be in complete control of the whole value chain, right? I guess one of the things that I'm guessing a lot of viewers would be interested in right now is the marketing thing. So it's hard enough really trying to get a good marketing plan when maybe you're in your own country, but you've now gone to another country. So how did you really navigate, you know, getting a great marketing plan?
It is tough. To be honest with you, we still haven't found that magical equation, and we're still, you know, 3 months in. So for any brand, you will still be like trying different techniques and strategies, and you see what does not work, you keep it on the side. What seems to be working, so you keep it on, and what works, you just double down on it. So we've really been working both the top and the bottom of the funnel. Obviously, we came out as a brand new brand, 0 followers. I am not a star, not an influencer. We're just like regular people, you know, trying to get out there. So we had to work a lot on the branding. And so that's what we've been doing with PR. We're working with influencers, with editors, just so they can get to know us and then relay the word. So that's been amazing for brand visibility, but that doesn't always affect the bottom line, but not right away. But that's really the path of a brand. You know, you invest in that, and then this is like a long-term kind of investment. The ROI is not like right now. But that's a quite obvious one to do. The bottom of the funnel is more complex because you can get on your online campaigns and trying to figure out your audiences. This is also like a big challenge for us because there are ways for us to identify our audience, but it's not obvious and it's very expensive as well. So what we've seen is like if we're trying to find 4, 5, 6 people based on skin condition. So one skin condition that's super obvious is hyperpigmentation, right? So we know if we run a campaign on hyperpigmentation, that's going to work because we know who gets hyperpigmentation. So that's a good thing. And we can see how that's leading the sales today. People are coming in with lots of hyperpigmentation. So what we're trying to still figure out now is how we replicate the same with the other condition. But the thing is, if we're talking about acne, that's a very generic problem that concerns all 6 phototypes, even if it manifests differently on skin phototype 4, 5, and 6 than it does on the 1, 2, 3. But there's no way for you to really know that this person I'm targeting that has acne is going to be within my target market. So we're still working on figuring that out and trying to find ways where we can target people with a better, let's say, level of detail. So we're still figuring out, seriously. 3 months in is so many tasks going on, a lot of trial and errors. We can touch back on it in 6 months when we have like more runway, more experience, and hopefully we would find that equation that allows us to say that, well, when we invest in this channel, with this strategy, we put 1, then we can get out 10, but we're still working on that. It's not the easiest part,
Yeah, and it's great to hear because I'm always telling people that this whole marketing thing, right? It's not more so I'm just advertising, but it's almost, if you consider the relationship between a business and its customers, there's a genuine relationship, and people, human beings, we need to learn how to talk to each other. Like, I need to know how to talk to my wife. I need to know what she likes, what she doesn't like. And in the beginning stages, you're still working out. You're gonna make mistakes, but until you get there and you click, and even the patience to be like, oh, it's been 3 months, but we're still tinkering. Some people get to, I don't know, like 3 weeks, and they're like, why is no one buying my thing? What's going on? But it's all right. It's all right to keep thinking around, even if it feels like it's long.
I mean, it takes longer, especially skincare is a very crowded segment. It's a lot of competition there, and you have brands that have been around for such a long time and they have authority on on the internet. So it's really hard to come in as a challenger, and then you have all these new concepts, and then you have your model that is completely different, and people just can't come in and pick up the product and go. So there's many little barriers that can come between you and your conversion. But it's just a matter of identifying them as you go, and then improving your funnel as you go. But one thing that we've seen, and this is where I totally agree with you when you talk about talking to people, the power of connection, of community. We have this thing on our website where you tell people, you can customize your product, but if you don't know, come to us. We can give you a free consultation. And I do a lot of this because I love talking to my customers. Like if I could do only that all day, I would do it. I love talking to them. And so someone will come in and say, hey, I have these problems and this and this and this and this. I just don't know what to do. And instead of you just pushing a product to them, we have this process where we always start with the base, like let's try to understand why this is happening, so we can solve actually the issue from the core, from the source, so it doesn't happen again. We're not trying to get like a quick fix. And while we're here, let us just give you some tips about your skin, so next time that you make that purchasing decision, you are making an informed one that is based on what you need, not on what the bottle looks like, how nice it smells, and how cool the brand is. Like your skincare, there is care in skincare. So you need to be buying things that care for your skin's well-being. And usually when we finish these conversations, people's mind are just like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before. And then next thing you know, we're getting other people coming saying, my friend talked to someone in your team, and then they got this and got this. They told me about it. I want the same thing. It's like, yeah, you can get the same thing, but we're just going to make it your thing. And so this has also been like such a driving power for our growth. Just people are telling, and they're coming in to get the service, and we really treat our customers like, oh baby, we love them so much. This is really, really helping. It's really helping us. So we know that the hyperpigmentation thing works. We know that customer service is such a driving force. So these are two things where we're really going full on them in terms of improving the bottom line. And we keep on testing until we figure it out, and we will.
That's really good. So it's like, we've spoken about marketing, we've spoken about actually starting it up, we've spoken about launching in another country and everything that comes along with that. You've also done something else in terms of gone out and raised capital for it. So I think it was 700,000 euros.
Yes.
So one thing, I always try not to focus on the numbers, right? Because you hear that number and you think, whoa, but the reality is that might run out in like under 2 years. Exactly.
I know.
So, there is a place for, I guess, like raising investment and stuff. And there are places where maybe it's better not to. What was that whole fundraising process like? And when did you actually decide that actually we need this, we can't just bootstrap all the way?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that we were going to need funds anyway. There is no way on earth you can start like your own fully integrated business with like 40,000 euros, which is what I put down as a capital, my own money. So we try not to like really bootstrap things, but at some point, once you have bootstrapped your R&D and you were able to do it with, there was 50K. And also because I had one of my first business partner, Iman, and she's like a magical being because she really knows about skin. Like, she's a skin researcher, and then she's a doctor in pharmacy. So she has that dimension to health when we talk about skincare, and then she's an expert in biodynamic formulation, but also she has run her own production unit before when she was in Tunisia. So because I had someone like that in the team, we were able to cut costs and challenge suppliers and just be like, if we're going to put €1, it better be for good reason, So we were able to do so much with so little at the R&D process. But when you get to the point where you need to do tests, because this industry is heavily regulated, you cannot just have your own little thing cooked in, and be like, hey, this is it, you can use it now. No, you will go to jail. So going through legal testing, that's super expensive, especially with our model where you have your base formulas, and then you have customization actives, and basically you need to make sure that whichever way you make the formula cross, then that it's safe for the customers. And so that's super expensive. Raw material are super expensive because you get to buy with MOQs that are only fit for the biggest in the industry. So when you can be like, I actually just need 1 kilo of this, so 500, and they're like, goodbye. But we were very lucky that at the time when we were sourcing raw materials, we were still in relation with the LVMH research center. So we just be like, we're coming from LVMH. Ah, LVMH, of course, you can get So that was good, but for most of our ingredient, we had to align with the MOQ, so that's super expensive. And then setting a lab, that's super expensive because you need to make sure that the space where you're setting up your lab is aligned with the regulation. And I didn't know that, but it's so expensive. So that also took up a lot of our money. So we knew that we needed to raise. So when I started looking for money, the first mistake that I did was to go talk to venture capitalists. And everyone was like, yeah, that's an amazing idea, Noelly, amazing project, but this is too early. Like, you need to go out and prove your concept. And then when you've actually proven it, come back to us. And I was like, guys, this is not the right way to look at this. We need to take this risk now. I need the help now. How am I going to prove the concept if I do not have money
to fund it?
But obviously I was not well versed in the art of raising money, and I was also a bit stubborn because I was not listening to my husband, he is an entrepreneur and he invests a lot in companies. Told me, don't talk to investors right now. We need to seek business. I'm just like, you just let me do my thing my own way, and then we'll see. But he was right. So eventually, I went back to talking to business angels, and I had this whole vision, this dream of raising money with people from my community. It was important to have women of color, men of color, because I figured out, like, if an investor has a personal connection to you or to the audience that you're trying to serve, then it might be easier for them to invest. If your project is right, forget about that. I mean, I searched again and that didn't happen. And then I kind of felt back to the last resort, which was like, we need to find good investors, people that believe in the project and that will support you, not only for the money, but also for guidance and the experience and etc. So I went through this network of B Angels in Brussels that's called the B Angels. And so basically this is like kind of they organize pitching competitions, but for you to have access to this pitch competition, you need to go through a first juror who then pre-select your project. You pitch for 10 minutes and then you say, okay, good, you can go to the next tab, and then you go to that next tab. There's another job that said, good, now you're admitted to kind of the pitch there, where you find yourself on stage, mic in hand, and there's like 100 business angels in the room. And you pitch, and they ask you questions. At the end, they organize this sort of like desk side where you just stand behind your desk, and investors that are interested in your project, they come in and talk to you. And at the end of the day, they say, we want to see this project, we want to hear about the person more. And so you get into basically the deal meetings. So I basically went there thinking, this is going to be training, because these are all like white men and women. They're never going to get my project. And I was the only person that was coming with like a skincare project. It was all biotech, medtech, all the something tech. And now you have this Black woman, you're like, now we're going to do skincare not for you people. I really went, I was like, yeah, this is never going to work. Like, they are never going to care. But I was really shocked because they did. They really did. And a lot of them came and said, wow, we're so shocked that this does not exist, but explain to us. So when we see Black women on, these ads from this big brand, what does that mean? It's like, it means they're putting them on the ad, but that's it. And so I did my first deal meeting, where basically you meet with all the investors, potential investors that are interested in the project, and then you really go into deeper details. This is like 3 hours where you questions and on numbers, the concept, the process and everything. And at the end, you have a moderator that says, so who wants to invest? And then he collects the, and then he says, no, 25K. So we are at 300,000 euros. And I screamed. I was like, what? I thought it was a joke. And so then I had to do a second deal meeting where you go more into your business plan, the finances. And at that meeting, I had 400K. And then people that were not part of the deal meeting, they said, oh, I saw that project. I didn't think it was interesting, but if he's going, I'm going too, So that's how I raised the money. And I had this understanding with my husband, Julian, who was like, if you manage to raise, then I would invest. And I was like, well, I don't want you to invest just because, our relationship. I want to prove to you that I can raise. And then if I do, then you invest. So, so he did. And then some of our other friends who are also like big entrepreneurs in France that I was scared to go see them because I felt I was just going to ask for money. And I didn't want to do it, but then I went back to them and said, "Hey guys, that's like a different attitude, This is what's happening. I'm raising the money. Are you in or not?" So that was like,
"Are you in or not?"
Yeah, absolutely. It was a completely different conversation, And I had to say no to some friends who wanted to. It was like, I can't take any more. You want to get that? It's like that's how I raised the cash. And sometimes I talk about it and I still can't believe it because really my mindset back then was just like, this is never happening. Never happening. Like, I don't know how you're going to get this done. Just prepare yourself to do this for like 5 years where you do it step by step because you're never getting the money. But I just always got out there with this attitude. I was like, what do I have to lose? I'm going to go out and pitch like I'm pitching for my life and see what happens. And so, I guess that helps.
Nah, thank you so much for telling the story the way you did. Man, I love that. I love that story. I think that's the best fundraising story like I've ever heard. So last bit is just more any advice in general you just have for someone maybe wanting to start a cosmetics business or just business as a whole. Like what do you think has really helped you along the way?
I don't know if I can say there was like one particular thing that helped me, but with what I know now, I think the best advice I can give someone who wants to become a founder or have an idea is to really be comfortable with the unknown. Be comfortable with the fact that you don't know, and know that can be a blessing, really. Like if I had known all of the obstacles and all of the processes and the million things that were necessary for me to get this brand off the ground, I wouldn't have done it. I would not. I just kept going. I didn't know anything. I don't have like this huge background in the beauty industry. Mostly beauty founders, they work for huge conglomerate, and so they know the industry inside out. They know everything. I did not. All I had was my passion, my personal frustration. I had identified that there was a problem and I was determined to solve it. And I didn't know more than that, but I was willing, I was very, very willing, like I'm going to get this done. And so I discovered the challenges and the obstacles and difficulties as I went. But if I had known all these things beforehand, I wouldn't have done it. So the unknown can be a blessing. So if you feel like the fact that you don't know is the reason why you're not doing it, it should be the contrary. Like go for it, just go for it, and you figure things out as you go. So that would be the best advice I could give, really.
Great, thank you so much. I am definitely a fan. Like I'm a brand ambassador. I'm a self-employed ambassador now. But thank you so much. I've enjoyed it. I'm sure like so many people are going to learn from this and grow from it. And thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Ron, and congratulations for your new baby girl. And have a great day, and I will speak to you later.